I used to ignore numerology completely, thinking it was just some mystical nonsense that had no real impact on my daily life. For years, I thought my destiny was only shaped by the things I could see or control, like my career or relationships. But then, something surprising happened when I finally decided to take my numerology cycle seriously, and it changed the way I see time, growth, and personal development forever. If someone told me that a simple shift in my numerology cycle could redefine how I handle challenges, stress, and even decision-making, I would have laughed it off. But the truth is that when your numerology cycle changes, there's one thing that happens, something so powerful and subtle that most people completely overlook it. Today, I want to share with you what that one thing is, what it means for you, and why you simply can't afford to ignore it if you want to navigate life with more clarity and ease. For a long time, I struggled with feeling stuck every few years, like I was running on a treadmill but not getting anywhere. I'd hit these invisible walls emotionally and mentally, yet I couldn't put my finger on why. I blamed external factors, my job, my relationships, the economy, but deep down, I had this faint intuition that something inside me was shifting, even if I didn't realize what it was. That was until I learned about numerology cycles, those sacred rhythms based on your birth date numbers that come and go every few years. The moment that changed everything was the day I recognized I was entering a new numerology cycle without even knowing it. That invisible shift started affecting everything I was feeling, thinking, and even the outcomes I was seeing. At first, I resisted the idea because it sounded like superstition. But once I understood what was happening beneath the surface, I saw that this shift was less about mysticism and more about cycles of personal transformation built into time itself. Here's the thing, when your numerology cycle changes, the one thing that happens above all else is this: your entire internal landscape resets. It's like your emotional, mental, and energetic version of yourself undergoes a soft reboot. If you think about your life as a house, it's like the power gets shut off briefly while the wiring is rechecked, dust settles, and the foundation shifts slightly. You don't always see the cables changing, but you feel the tremors. That's exactly what happens when you enter a new numerology cycle. The old habits, old fears, and even old ways of dealing with challenges go through a form of recalibration. You might slip into uncertainty, feel restless, or become more sensitive to situations that didn't normally affect you, all because your inner operating system is updating. Let me tell you what that felt like for me, because I think you'll relate. I remember one time, I was about to start a new business venture, and unbeknownst to me, I stepped into a new 9-year numerology cycle. Suddenly, everything that used to motivate me started to feel off. This confusion and anxiety were hard to handle. It was like my mind was trying to shut down the old patterns, but hadn't yet fully loaded the next phase. One night, I lay awake thinking I had made a terrible mistake. But then, something shifted on a deeply subconscious level, where I realized this unease was part of the process. This wasn't failure, it was transformation. Everything changed when I learned to embrace that internal reset instead of fighting it. The moment I stopped trying to make things happen the old way and gave myself permission to be in that liminal space, things started aligning differently. That's when I discovered that the power of a numerology cycle change is not about rushing or forcing progress, but about surrendering to an internal shift that sets you up for what's next. I know it seems strange at first to think that numbers or cycles can have such a profound effect on your mind and emotions. You might be thinking that it's just coincidence, or that this kind of insight only applies to mystics. At first, I resisted too, because it felt like giving up control. But then I looked into neuropsychology and found that our brains actually work in cycles that influence our attention, motivation, and emotional regulation roughly every 7 to 10 years. When you combine this scientific understanding with numerology cycles, it creates a kind of roadmap. It's like getting a heads up on your body and mind's natural rhythms, so you can prepare instead of feeling blindsided. More importantly, it helps you be kinder to yourself during times of apparent stagnation or chaos because you understand that the reset is necessary. Here's a concrete example of how this knowledge can be applied. When entering a new numerology cycle, instead of pushing hard to fix your life or double down on productivity, try giving yourself space to reflect and restore. Think of it like soil after a harvest. It needs time to rest before new seeds can grow. For me, this meant pausing my usual hustle for 3 weeks, journaling every day about what I wanted to leave behind emotionally, and practicing mindful meditation to tune into my feelings. It wasn't easy because I was terrified of losing momentum. But by the end of those 3 weeks, my energy felt lighter, my priorities clearer, and I was able to take more intentional actions that aligned with the new cycle's energy rather than resisting it. Try this now. Look up your numerology cycles, find your current cycle's start date, and mark 10 days just for reflection. No judgment, no pressure. See what surfaces. Another surprising thing is how this cycle chain affects your relationships. When I hit my last numerology cycle transition, I noticed I suddenly became more sensitive to people's energy. Arguments that never bothered me before felt overwhelming, and some friendships started to unravel while new ones emerged. At first, it hurt deeply because I thought I was failing socially. But once I realized this was a natural process of shedding old energy and making space for new connections, I could embrace it without fear. Your numerical cycle change can act like a filter, sorting out toxic or incompatible relationships and drawing in those that truly support your growth. You don't have to force it or analyze every interaction obsessively. Just notice how your social dynamics shift and give yourself permission to let go or nourish accordingly. Start small. Pick one relationship you've been ignoring or that causes stress and observe how it feels in this new cycle. Your insight might surprise you. There's also an important lesson about timing and patience embedded in these cycles. Before understanding numerology, I always wanted to control the timeline, get promotions faster, fix personal issues overnight, or learn skills as quickly as possible. But entering a new cycle taught me that timing doesn't always follow our deadlines or wishes. Instead, it unfolds on a rhythm that's often unseen but deeply felt. Imagine trying to speed up a wave in the ocean. It's impossible because the waves follow their own pace. Once I accepted that my growth follows a similar ebb and flow informed by these cycles, I stopped feeling frustrated by what felt like slow progress. The result is that you meet your goals with more ease and less burnout because you work with your cycles instead of against them. The challenge is to practice patience as a form of active engagement rather than passive waiting. Try this for 2 cycles. Track when your cycles start and end. Note major events or feelings, and watch how your personal growth aligns with those natural waves. Now, one last thing you must understand about what happened when your numerology cycle changes is this. Your purpose or focus is recalibrated, often subtly but powerfully. When I entered my current cycle, I suddenly lost interest in previous goals like climbing the corporate ladder. Instead, I felt drawn to helping others understand these cycles too, because I realized this. Knowledge was the missing piece in my own transformation. Your cycle won't always hand you a neon sign, but it will gently guide you by shifting your inner priorities. This recalibration acts like a compass, recalculating when you change destinations. If you don't pay attention, you might keep walking in the wrong direction or feel restless and unfulfilled. More importantly, aligning with your cycle's new purpose can make your work, relationships, and self-care more fulfilling and less of a grind. So here's a simple action. Write down 3 goals you had when your last cycle started, then 3 goals you have now. Reflect on the differences and ask yourself which set feels more authentic or exciting to you. In summary, the one thing that happens when your numerology cycle changes is a profound internal reset that affects your emotions, mindset, relationships, timing, and purpose all at once. It's not magic or a quick fix. It's a subtle shift that you can learn to recognize, respect, and work with to make your next chapter smoother and more aligned with who you truly are becoming. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure during certain phases of life, chances are your numerology cycles are at play. Choose what resonates most for you here. Embrace reflection over resistance. Surrender to the process instead of control, and practice patience as an act of empowerment. Now, I want to know, have you noticed any shifts when your numerology cycle changed? What was the most unexpected thing you experienced? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your story might be the spark someone else needs right now. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more honest conversations about how the unseen patterns of life are actually there to help us, not hold us back. Remember, the change is already happening inside you. You just have to notice it and lean into it.